not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It's a Thursday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We're starting to get towards the end of yet another week. This fall is going fast. October 7th. Like, what? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's going by real quickly, and we have some great matchups this week in football as playoffs right around the corner. And now more than ever before this season, we're really starting to look ahead as I think we're starting to get a much clearer view of what these brackets are going to look like closer to playoff time.
We got a jam-packed show today as well. We have multiple guests. We're going to debut an interview with Phil Simone that we did off the air. We are going to have Julia Rapp, this week's Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner from Columbiana. And then Joe Simon at 140, head coach of the Liberty football team, will be joining us. And then you squeeze all that into a show where we're also going to be previewing the what we call marquee matchups that we do every week, as far as the matchups in the football realm for the week ahead. So a busy Thursday, but we wouldn't have it any other way on Running Point.
I don't know why I have trouble with this so much, but yeah, there's a lot of great matchups this week too in football that I'm excited to take a look at too, with a lot of playoff implications on the line, a lot of teams that are right on the outside looking in, and a lot of ones that really mean where teams are going to be seated now. So it's getting real exciting now with football in the area, because there's a lot of our teams in this area that are right in the thick of it.
Before we get into the meat of our show, one thing I do want to remind people is that the comment section, brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi, is live. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, feel free to leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. You can also call in and talk to us. 330-886-0813, the number to call. We'd love to hear from our fans either way. And now the other thing that we have to kind of address before we get into the meat of this show, breaking news came in last night. Crestview and Garfield football for tomorrow has been canceled. It is a Crestview side. They have come out and publicly said it is non-COVID related, but they are dealing with Coach Cusick said in his interview that they're dealing with a shortage of players. So if for one reason or another, whether it be injuries or other sicknesses or whatever it may be, Crestview just doesn't have enough varsity players to put on a competitive football game. So he said it's not a COVID issue, but it is a numbers issue. Crestview cancels. Garfield is actively looking for a week 8 opponent.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that, there are other issues out there, though, too, and that's what we seem to forget, that, there's not just COVID that exists in the world anymore, that there are other issues that pop up with teams, and sometimes stuff like this happens, and it is unfortunate because, cat's out of the bag. It would have been one of our marquee matchups, because those are two really good teams going at it. Unfortunate that they don't have one. Hopefully Garfield can make something happen, though, before tomorrow.
And, don't want to speculate, but I do know that I think Rootstown is available this week, so that might be a possible matchup for Garfield. I know Rootstown has been available to replace a couple opponents already this season, so we might see a Rootstown versus Garfield matchup. That's not confirmed. It's just speculation as I look through teams that have an open week.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Rootstown is still competing to try to get a playoff spot. So they need the game just as much as
More. I mean, because Garfield's locked into the playoffs. Like, let's just be real.
yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. I think Garfield's locked into the playoffs, but I'm actually kind of curious now where Rootstown is ranked, because looking at where Rootstown is and where their record was, we've heard about the Rovers a lot this season, and yeah, their game with Pie Valley was just canceled not too long ago. But yeah, they're 4-3 and they're D5. I wasn't sure if they were 5 or 4. And Rootstown in D5 right now, they are ranked. Let's see here.
It's 13.
12 is what I got. Yep.
Ah!
12. You're close. You're close. So yeah, this is an instance too where they're in that bottom tier, and right there at 12, you're not comfortable at that spot. You still would like to jump a few more spots, and it's an instance where Rootstown would definitely like to get a game in.
Speaking about being close, we forgot to mention it yesterday because we had so much going on yesterday as well. You absolutely won the Price is Right challenge this week, because not only did the Ysn Nation show up to get 38,000 votes on Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley between Tuesday and Wednesday. At the top of the show, before we came on the air, I checked, it was in the 47,000s, and that was yesterday. So, I mean, yeah, you won. Congratulations, Ysn Nation showed up for you this week, but next week I'm coming back.
Yeah, and I mean, I said too, I called it when I saw the communities list that were on there too. And of course, a little bit biased knowing that the Austintown community was a part of it too. But I mean, just looking around at what other communities are on there: JFK, Western Reserve, Beaver Local, Wyndham. I mean, Jackson, Milton, Crestview, LeBray. Yeah, like there's some great communities that support their teams very heavily on there. So I knew it was going to be a big turnout.
Now the question is, since it was 47,000 yesterday, can they get to a hundo by Saturday?
Well, let's check what they're at right now. Right now, they are at 63,000, just over 63,000 right now, if my math is correct by looking at that. So if that is the case, I mean, I think they might be able to do it. They're averaging about 20,000 votes about a day right now.
Right.
And you got to figure Friday, there's always a spike after the Friday football matchups, especially for football voting. I got to figure they could get 100. I think they could get 100,000 by end of voting Saturday. I think they could get it.
You know, one of the nominees there is Grace Hour from Crestview, and we talked a lot about Crestview yesterday because on Tuesday night they clinched their 6th straight league championship. They weren't done getting big milestones last night. Last night they beat LeBray in 3 sets, and that was Coach Alicia Hour's 300th career win as a head coach at Crestview. Could not say congratulations enough. I think one of the premier volleyball coaches, not just in the area. I would put her against anybody in the state. I have so much respect for Coach Hour, and we've done so many of her games and so many coaches' corners, and just a wonderful accomplishment for one of the most respected coaches in the area.
And I mean, 300 wins is just a model of consistency and long-term consistency at that. So if you could compile 300 wins and what is it, typically a 22-game volleyball season, at most, you're getting a decent amount of wins per season to get 300. So, I mean, congratulations to her, and I mean, congratulations to the Crestview program for keeping her in the fold and in the mix, and that relationship has been nothing but beautiful over there.
That's now 2 volleyball coaches this year that have eclipsed 300 career wins. Obviously, we saw Panita Shields do it a couple of weeks ago, had her on the show. Alicia Hour does it last night. We'll try to get her on the show soon. Maybe sometime next week to talk not just about her 300th win, but by next week, the regular season will be over and we can talk to her about the district hopes and what they're looking forward to in the tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, Crestview's doing a great job too, volleyball. So, I mean, there's
20-0. They have 2 more games left. They're both against Heartland Christian. They play them back-to-back, home and away, Monday and Tuesday. Home against Heartland on Monday, at Heartland Christian on Tuesday. So, 2 games left back-to-back against the Lions, and the Rebels will try to complete the undefeated 22-0 season.
And I mean, they just might be able to do it. It'll be interesting to see. They've had a fantastic season to this point.
It definitely has. And then they would, of course, love to add some wins to that 22 total in the tournament. Some other news that came out yesterday, well, actually this morning, Cindy Mercer, one of the stars of West Branch volleyball, has committed to Mount Union to play her, extend her volleyball career. That's another member of Team Hartwig, by the way. Check.
Just adding feathers in his cap.
Whoop, whoop. Now I know it's not a softball commitment, but I'm still happy that one of my athletes from the All-Star game is committed to a college. We followed Sydney's for what we've been in for the last 3 years since we've been signed to West Branch. Great athlete, premier athlete in volleyball, premier athlete in basketball, will be a premier athlete in softball, and she chose volleyball, and that's what she's going to be committed to continue her career in at Mount Union. Going to be a Purple Raider on the volleyball court.
And I mean, just great to see any of these athletes get a second or an opportunity, not a second opportunity, but an opportunity to continue and further their playing career elsewhere. So just a great opportunity and a great job to see another one of our area athletes be able to accomplish such.
Jackson Milton last night got the win over Lowville on pink night for volleyball as they go into the Rockets gym and win in 3 sets, 25-16, 25-18, 25-16. Kylie Wilson led the Blue Jays with 7 kills. Paige Grope set up 13 assists, and freshman libero continues to impress. Grace Johns led the back row with 10 digs on the night. Sammy Kelly for Lowville, she was all over the stat sheet like she usually is. 6 kills, 6 digs, and 23 assists for her. Sammy Moore led the Rockets with a match-high 18 digs. Jackson Milton returns Monday as they host Sebring, and Lowville will have a week off before they finish their regular season next Thursday. So not tonight, but next Thursday. They will go to Heartland Christian. Salem Soccer, they got their wheels back on track. We saw them have a tough loss on Monday. They got back on track here last night as they won 4-0 against Crestview. Riley Hutton, the hat trick, 3 goals in the first half alone to lead the Quakers. Michaelan Murphy added a goal and Abby Perry added 2 assists. Salem looks ahead to West Branch next Wednesday. That's going to be a big one. And we're going to have Mike Bailey in the studio next Wednesday as well to talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're excited to have the number of guests come on our show that we've been able to get to, and just love getting those new ones. And when players and coaches are able to accomplish such great feats around the area, we love being able to get them on and talk to them.
Yeah, and you know what? We weren't able to get this next guest on as far as on the air, but we are happy that we were able to still schedule an interview with him, talk to him last night, and it is Phil Simone of Canfield Girls Soccer. They have clinched. I want to clarify this because Phil Simone made sure to clarify it as well. They have clinched at least a share of the AAC championship. They are still looking to clinch the outright championship later on in the season. I believe Monday is their next game. So they have at least a share, but as we know, competitors do not like sharing. So they'll look to earn the outright championship on Monday. I had a chance to talk to Coach Simone last night, and here is our conversation with the Canfield Girls Soccer head coach, Phil Simone. Anthony Hartwig here with another edition of the Running Point Coaches Corner. We're not on the air, but we're still joined by Phil Simone, the head coach of the Canfield Girls Soccer team. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. We are happy to finally work this out. Your girls team has been phenomenal this year. AAC champions. Talk about what it means before we talk about the whole season as a whole. Just that night to win the AAC and what that meant for your program and for you.
Well, we have officially not won it yet. With a win on Monday, we are guaranteed. We're guaranteed at least a tie for it right now. But if we can pull that off, it'll be 10 in a row for us. And the girls have worked extremely hard, and just so proud of them.
So just to clarify for everyone, you have clinched at least a share of the AAC, but as we all know, sharing is not in competitors' DNA, and you want to win it outright.
Correct.
All right, so talk a little bit about this team. I mean, you guys are having such a phenomenal season. The standard, as you just said, has been set by this program and the history that it has. What it is about this group specifically this year, though, that has been so successful?
Every year they come in with a target on their back, and they know they've got some pressure on them just because they've been successful. And this group has really not talked about it. They've just kind of gone out, done what they need to do, take care of business, and just keep playing. They work hard every practice. And the special thing about it is it's not a senior-led team as far as numbers, not a senior-heavy team, I should say. It's kind of spread around. We've got a mixture of all grades, which makes it special. So just proud of them for everything that they do.
Not a senior-heavy team, but talk about some of the leaders of this group and the leaders that have stepped up to really lead them, not just on the field, but maybe off the field as well.
Some of the seniors especially, we've got 7 seniors, and leading that group is Allie Malinky, Sabrina Goodrich. They've really stepped up on the field this year. Sabrina stepped up into a different role from where she's typically played this season. She's played more in the midfield. We've moved her up front. So on and off the field, she's been phenomenal. Lauren Yeoman plugs away. She finds a way to put goals in the back of the net for us. And, a couple surprise leaders. Caden Svetkoff always works extremely hard on the defensive side. And a lot of the times those defenders don't get all the credit because all the goal scorers are getting all the credit. And then we finish off with our goalkeeper in Bayan Jadala, who has only given up 5 goals all season. And then kind of what I call our social director, Lena Atway, just playing solid all year. She's not a flashy player, but she's just provided us with what she's capable of in her role, and really led the way for us in that. And then we have our last senior is Ellie Bashera, and Ellie works hard every practice, every game, when she gets the opportunity to get on the field for us. So it's really a great group of senior girls all around. I've coached girls for 14 years, and there's always some drama coaching girls, but this year has been phenomenal with them. They've just wanted to take care of business.
Let's talk a little bit more about Sabrina, because like you said, in a new role this year, a little bit of a different position, but she has been on everyone's radar. You look at any soccer expert in the area, she's on the top of their watch list and things like that. Talk about what it's been like to coach someone like that, and to see just the versatility factor kind of step in this year, and her showing that she could be not just what she was last year, but be a new member, not a new member, but a new tool to this team this year.
Yeah, we lost our target player to graduation last year, and we know we were looking for a new target. And Sabrina worked extremely hard off season on her fitness levels, and we just thought with her ability to hold the ball and her ability to finish, that we thought we were preseason going to give her a look at that position. And she showed us preseason that she solidified in locking that position. But yeah, her versatility is phenomenal, because we can play her in target and hope for her to get a goal, or hold the ball up for players to run off of her and potentially get a goal off of her holding it. But then in a tight game, if we're up, we can always bump her back to secure the defense a little bit in the midfield and sure up a victory.
And one of the things that you notice if you're a soccer fan in the area is the growth of the sport as far as how many elite programs we're seeing pop up, especially on the girls' side. As a coach, as your perspective, what does it mean to you just as not even just as a coach, as a soccer fan, to kind of look around and see all these different programs in the area kind of start to really solidify themselves and the sport start to grow as much as it has?
I mean, it's awesome that the sport's growing. We're in the Youngstown area. We're always a little bit behind the Cleveland area as far as soccer. So to see it develop, because we always try and get a schedule that allows us to play some of the out of area teams, so we can see where the measuring stick is, and to see some of the local teams starting to catch up and improve, not with just a couple players, but their overall teams, just shows how much further advanced the area is these days in girls soccer.
Before a season start, every coach has kind of a idea of how the season will go, or a picture where they think this is what my team will look like this year. Have there been any surprises or some things that have gone a little bit differently than you expected them to this year?
No, I mean, we figured, we lost some solid seniors last year, but looking over the summer and what we had coming back and some of the areas that we had to fill, we thought we would be a little bit more agile this year, a lot more versatile. We had some area where some of the younger girls have grown a little bit, and we can float some people around. So we thought we could be a lot stronger in the midfield this year, and it really showed that we are stronger in the midfield. That's one of our strengths. But I mean, we kind of knew going in that we had a solid team, and as every team hopes, you just hope to stay healthy and get a little bit of luck in your journey. And so far, we've been fortunate.
Coach, one of the things about your program is it is such an established program of excellence, and that has to come from developing kind of the girls before they get to high school. Talk about what some of the things that Canfield soccer does. So I know there's not a lot of junior high official soccer as far as school affiliated teams in the area. So what are some things that you guys do to make sure when they come in as freshmen, they're as developed as possible when they get to you?
One of the things is just the culture that we've built. It's not so much us as the high school coaches getting down and working with all the younger groups. We do try and work with maybe one group out of the younger ones if we can, to try and get them up to par. But one of the things that we've been fortunate with is we've had some solid parents in the lower levels that have maybe not been extremely soccer knowledgeable, but they've been very driven in keeping the girls together. If they weren't soccer knowledgeable in their training abilities, they found people to help them. But just, I mean, the big thing is just the culture that we've developed, and they know the expectations we have. So, I speak with some of the youth coaches pretty frequently, keeping tabs on them. And again, we just try and keep them in the right direction. So we're always asking them questions of what they're doing. They're asking us what we're kind of doing, and we're just making sure they're getting the right program in place for them.
Talk to me a little bit about your personal soccer journey and what kind of brought you to this place that you're at now. How do you get involved in coaching the sport? What is it about soccer that is made you love it so much, and what are some of the things that kind of you look back on and think that were turning points in your career?
So I started off at a very young age. My parents are both from Italy. They moved over pregnant with me when they came to this country, and my dad was always a soccer lover. So back in the 70s, I'm going to start dating myself here. Back in the 70s, him and a bunch of other foreigners got together and played quite a bit. And they had a pretty good men's league around with all the communities, and I followed them all around and hung around with all of them, and so I just kind of at an early age was always around soccer. So my dad's a big driving point behind my passion for it. And then I started playing myself, and at the high school level, I played at the high school level. Went to McDonald High School, which no longer has a team, but we had a lot of parent coaches, and I really didn't get an opportunity to really thrive in the game and get the knowledge that was needed. And then I had a club coach who's passed, and he was a big part of youth soccer in those days, George DeChef. And he got me rolling, and it got me involved in club at a late age. And then he brought me on as a staff coach, and I really started to get into the coaching side of it. And I look back sometimes as myself as a young coach in my 20s and think, man, what was I doing back then? Well, I was a horrible coach back then, looking back at things. But just to, I tell a lot of the young coaches now, back in the early days, I really studied the X's and O's of the game, really looked at what those super drills, what was the heavy drill to do, what was the cool drill to do. Whereas you become an older coach, you start looking at the tactics of the game and the psychological side of the game and how we develop young people instead of just winning games. So yes, we've built a winning tradition, and sports are driven by wins and losses. But on the Canfield girls side, we also try and develop outstanding young ladies, and that's part of what we're here for now. And I'm in between JV and varsity boys and girls. I'm actually in my 28th year here at Canfield, and just blessed to be part of a great program and a great school system.
And to put in 28 years, you really got to love what you do. I mean, there's no way to get around doing it for that long without having a passion for the coaching aspect. What's your favorite thing about coaching, especially coaching high school age students?
Well, they keep you on your toes. They keep you youthful. I can't put a finger on it. I just, I love going to practice. I love being around the kids. Obviously I love the soccer. I've got a passion for it. I'm still having fun doing it. And as long as I keep having fun doing it and enjoying myself, we'll keep going. But, I can't pinpoint one thing. I guess it's just the whole atmosphere of it, that I really enjoy.
Coach, before we let you go, we know that programs and teams are not built by one person, and we know that although you are the head coach and you get the interviews and the light shined on you a little bit, there are plenty of people behind the curtains and the assistants and the other coaches that help with this program. Give a shout out to some of the people that have made this program what it is today, and the assistants that you work with.
Yeah, currently my JV coach and my assistant varsity coach is John Madeline, and John's going on his 4th year with us. And I always try and look at assistant coaches that are going to mesh well with the kids. And I found a good one in John. He relates to the kids well. He's a student of the game as well, and he enjoys being around them too. So, that's my current situation with assistants. And then I have Jackie Badalski with me. She's in her 3rd year with us. She works primarily with our goalkeepers, but she also assists the entire team. And Jackie is an alumnus. She was, I believe, a sophomore when I started coaching the varsity team. So she played for me for 3 years. So it's kind of nice to have some of that alumnus feeling coming back and being a part of staff, because they've been there. They kind of know what we're doing, and they can relate to the kids a little bit more. And then over the years, I've had, Alicia Denmead has really put a stamp on the program. She was with us for 5. And then a big one that we had was Mike Thomas was with us for several years. We lost him, unfortunately. He had passed away. But have had some great assistant coaches with us over the years.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We love talking to you. We love catching up to you. We love covering the Canfield girls soccer program. They always give us some great stories to put up on the site. Good luck the rest of the way, and we look forward to possibly talking to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you again for having us.
That was a conversation with the Canfield girls soccer coach, Phil Simone. Great conversation that we were able to grab, and I'm thankful we were able to get it. Ty, that was a great conversation with a great program. I mean, they haven't just been doing it this year. I think they are going for their 8th straight AAC championship on Monday outright. Just an amazing program. What were some of your takeaways from that conversation?
I mean, it's just another one of those models of consistency, and that's exactly what Coach Simone's brought to the Canfield girls program. And I mean, as a soccer coach, it's undeniable what he's been able to do, and the knowledge and from the coaching aspects, what he's been able to bring to the program is not really matched very much in the area as far as soccer programs are concerned. So Canfield girls is definitely one of the best, and with good reason.
I think there could be a whole story about Coach Simone's heritage and the way his family came over from Italy and how his passion for soccer came from that, and his dad being so big into soccer and starting a men's league when they came over here that turned out to be a very prominent and popular men's league in the area. And I think that could be a whole story by itself. I was sad that I could only ask a couple questions about it. I could have dove into that whole story for maybe another half an hour.
Yeah, an hour-long special with Coach Simone. I mean, you really could. I mean, he's got a great story, and I mean, you could talk about the years of success he's had with those programs and all those different teams he's coached and all those different girls he's coached to success through the program. I mean, there's got to be so many stories in just that.
Another thing I really liked about that conversation, and when he was talking about when he started his coaching career and when he was a young coach, he focused so much on the X's and O's, and he felt like as he matured, he learned to focus a little bit more on developing players, especially at the high school level. We talked about this yesterday when Scotty and us had the discussion about high school coaches versus the pro coaches. The development of high school age athletes, whether it be girls or boys, is super important. It's one of the reasons why he keeps doing it, and he felt like he had to grow a little bit to focus on that.
Yeah, and sometimes, coaches go through that, and especially young coaches have to realize that, and it only comes with maturity and with the time that you put into coaching too. And you can see that Coach Simone, he made that turn, and I mean, the success followed.
So that was a great conversation. We're going to take our first break of the day. When we come back, we will start our previews of the marquee matchups of the week that we have selected. Don't go anywhere. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on Ysn Live, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell, as we are every week. And it's time to dive into our marquee matchups of the week. Me and Ty have picked several handful of games from week 8 to kind of dive into and preview in depth a little bit more than we could tomorrow when we are doing our pick'ems. So let's start with a game that is between two teams that really need the win to either improve or get into the playoffs. And that's Niles versus Struthers. Struthers 15 right now, and Niles up in Division 3. They are sitting at, I believe, 17.
It's number 15 Struthers in D4 versus number 17 Niles in D3. And these are two teams where, I mean, yeah, everything feels like it's kind of on the line. And when you look at these two teams and where they're matched up, Struthers especially winning the first 2 games of the season before going through a little bit of a those slide against three very good opponents in Streetsboro, South Range, and Hubbard. But they've picked it up these last few weeks, wins consecutively against both Lakeview and Jefferson. So it's brought them right back into it and got them a playoff spot. Niles, on the other hand, starting off that season, remember that very close game with that loss to Howland, but then they rattled off 3 straight victories, including a win against that Alliance team that is very, very good. And that was a very good win, I guess it was a good wording for that, before losing to both Poland and South Range the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, it looks like a lot of the same wins and losses and similar opponents in what we're seeing. But looking at the actual standings in Division 4 and in Division 3, in Division 4, the standings turn out where Struthers is ranked, like we said, number 15. But in that, let's see where they're at 15. So with their point totals, 5.45 is their average. Woodridge is 4.59 behind them, and ahead of them at 14, Canal Fulton at Northwest is 6.18. So you could see very tight margins between those ones. And then over in Division 3, where Niles is sitting at 17, 4.37 between them and number 16 Alliance, which is 4.62 behind Niles. Number 18 Geneva is at 3.86. So very tight margins there, but you can tell that between Alliance and Niles, there's a very thin margin. So if Niles is to win this week, and with an Alliance loss, remember Alliance is playing number 1 in Division 4 West Branch this week, things can work out for Niles if they just win their game. Same thing for Struthers, though. They're playing with tight margins there as well, looking over at Division 4. And we saw at number 16 Woodridge, 4.59, 5.45, less than a point in the average in the computer point system. So it definitely could be trimmed down with a loss for Struthers and a win for Woodridge.
Yeah, and Woodridge, though, a team probably, I believe the gaps, what's that gap there?
A little bit less than a point, 0.96. And Woodridge, by the way, faces Division 3 opponent 2 and 4 Cloverleaf Colts from Region 10.
So yeah, both teams playing a Division 3 team. This is a Struthers team that we talked to Coach Bayek. They have dealt with a lot this year as far as injuries and people being out and whatever it may be. Haven't lost a game as far as not being able to play, but they have dealt with some number issues and putting people in positions that maybe they wouldn't normally be in. He said that last week, unexpectedly, he had to kind of put in some freshmen to be in the lineup. All that, leaders like Gio Calabret and Dylan Greenwood have kept the team together. And this is a team that I think, despite those 3 losses against Streetsboro, South Range, Hubbard, back to back, 3 really, really good teams, I think Struthers is a little bit better than people give him credit for.
Yeah, and I think they proved it too, rattling off 2 consecutive victories. And that was one of the questions we talked about with Coach Bayek, is making his team respond and how that makes you feel as a coach. How do you feel about a team that could respond after going down? Because remember, you go down 2 and 3 in your record wise. Struthers was sitting out of the playoffs and pretty far out significantly. I think 19-20 is where Struthers was at one point. So winning these games, getting themselves right back into the playoff picture, it shows a lot of maturity for a very young Struthers team. And I think that's been the most impressive part about him. But Niles is kind of in the same boat, I feel like, as far as similarities are concerned, where this is a Niles team that's trying to recover from a lot of seniors that they lost last year. And I think they're doing a very good job at it as well. And we're talking about a team a little bit opposite now. They're kind of going through their struggles now, where Struthers was going through it towards the middle of the season, facing 2 very quality opponents in both Poland and South Range in back-to-back weeks, before closing it out this week with Struthers, and then 2 home matches with both Hubbard and Girard, which are not going to get any easier for them. But this is a game too. Following this one, the next 2, obviously the Hubbard one's going to be difficult, but you also have a matchup with Girard, Struthers, Niles, all these teams, Jefferson, right in the middle of the pack. Well, of course, we know Hubbard and South Range at the top of the NE8, but then there's these 4 or 5 teams really. And
right now, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 out of 8 in the NE8 are sitting in playoff spots.
Either in or just outside of playoff spots right now.
Niles is just outside, right? I forgot about that. But 7 out of 8 are in position, I should say, to
In
make
very
the
good
playoffs.
position, yep.
We already saw Struthers bounce back from a tough spot. They lost to South Range and Hubbard and Streetsboro. They were on the mat. They got back up. It's Niles' turn to prove they can do that because, like you said, they're in this kind of struggle spot right now. They just lost South Range last week. So now instead of asking Struthers, how are you going to bounce back? We already know that they responded. We have to kind of ask Niles, how are you going to respond to being punched in the mouth and being put down on the mat?
And if you really want my honest opinion, both these teams need this win, I think, but Niles almost needing it a little bit more because Struthers with a loss, if maybe Woodridge loses or maybe something else happens, I think Struthers still can stay in the playoff picture, maybe drops to 16, but you might still see them in the playoff picture with a 4-4 record. But with Niles at 17, especially in Division 3, and Division 3 has a lot of quality teams this year, I think it's a case where Niles, if they lose, I don't know if they're going to be able to be in that good of a position to get right back in unless some things happen the next 2 weeks.
Help me out though. For Struthers, who are the last two on their opponent on their
For Struthers on their schedule, let me look at that real quick for you. For their next 2, it is Girard and Poland after this. So again, Girard, Poland, Niles, Jefferson.
If Struthers loses, those are 2 opportunities to play against teams that would boost their playoff, ranking.
Exactly. And I mean, it's the same kind of case, honestly, too, for Niles, because they still have to play Hubbard and Girard, Hubbard being a Division 3 opponent with Niles, and then playing down, obviously, a Division, but NE8 opponent in Girard.
To your point, if Niles loses this game, that Hubbard game almost becomes a must-win. Actually, it is.
Has to be, and that's going to be a tall mountain to climb.
I don't know if I want my game versus Hubbard to be a must-win game. And it might not be if they beat Struthers tomorrow. Because if they win 2 of the last 3, then they can find themselves in that 16, 15 kind of spot. But if they lose tonight, then they kind of have to beat Hubbard. And then they have to beat Girard.
And that becomes a lot more difficult. And then you look at Struthers. I think Struthers, too, it's not as tall of a mountain to ask Struthers to beat a Poland or a Girard team either. I think, honestly, where Struthers is sitting with their team, I think all these NE8 teams right in the middle of the pack, and all of them similar losses to both South Range and Poland, or South Range and Hubbard, excuse me, South Range and Hubbard, and that's in Poland's case, that's in Struthers' case, that's in Girard's case. I mean, so
the only difference is Poland lost by 1 possession to both those teams.
Yeah, Poland's been the closest one, and they've been kind of the one that's kind of like a little bit separated themselves as like number 3 in the NE8. But hey, if any of these teams, especially if Struthers wins against Poland, I think they could solidify a spot in Division 4.
Both teams have very good running backs as well. We're going to talk about them both. Antoine Gardner from Niles has really come on the scene and changed the identity of this offense. Remember in week 1 when they didn't score against Howland, and I came on the next week and I said they don't have an identity yet because last year it was Zach Leonard. They were throwing the ball really well. They were a passing offense. No more Zach Leonard. They're trying to find out who they are. Well, they found Antoine Gardner, and now they know who they are. They are a rough, physical running football team, and he's doing a great job solidifying that identity for Niles.
Yeah, and honestly, right now, Niles has been on the map. And I mean, struggles in the last couple of weeks, but you got to imagine that they want to bounce back, and this is going to be a very tough one. And the one interesting factor in it is it's at Struthers, and I believe it's the last home game for Struthers in the regular season. So Wildcat Faithful is going to bring it, and they're going to bring it hard, and it's going to be a packed house on Friday night. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting game. And we know Niles travels well. It's not too far of a drive to get to Struthers for Niles. So we know Niles is going to travel well, and that's going to be a fun place to be on Friday night.
And then, Struthers on the other side has a running back that has kind of popped on the scene and been a little bit under the radar this year, but a very good one. Taylor Sanchez has been running really well for them. And he's a big reason why when they have won, he's usually in the stat column with over 100 yards at least. So when they win, it's because he has a big game.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of just like for both of these teams.
Not Taylor, sorry.
Yeah.
Tyler.
It's for both of these teams, it's just about checking off wins. And I think in both of their cases, I think especially for Division 4's case, I think Struthers has a good chance at getting in with 5 wins. I think they have a great chance with 6. And if they're able to get, that's just where can we pick up wins in these next 3 weeks with these opponents? What are the likelihoods? Home and away matchups too. And this is one where you look at, yeah, you're playing up a division, but this is your last home game and you feel like you need to win this one. This one is one of those where you need to have a check mark on it. So it's going to be a great game, I think.
Before we move on to our next one, how much of a factor do you think this game being at Struthers is really going to be? How much of a home field advantage do you give Struthers?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a factor. I'm not going to say it's going to be the determining factor, but I think it's a huge factor depending on how much Struthers shows up, and if they show up how I expect them to show up. When that crowd gets excited and when they have a good team, and they have a good team this year, they can get really loud, and they can be game changers because it can be hard to hear and hard to call plays for the opposing offense. So you could see it become a little bit difficult to hear in Struthers because they could get loud.
Interesting storyline might be on how many players, because Coach Bayek said, last week there were some freshmen that had to step in because there were some people missing. How many players Struthers gets back this week? If we had an Adam Scheffner of high school football, maybe we would know kind of the injury report or who's on the inactive list this week, and it would make a clearer picture for this game. We're going to pick it tomorrow, and I think it might have the opportunity to be one that's a 50-50 split between us.
It very well might be. I still am up in the air on who to pick because I have to do a little bit more research because I don't even know. I can't find many clear advantages for one team or the other. These two teams play so well, so similar, and their opponents and strength of schedule are so similar as well.
All right, let's move on to a game between another matchup against teams that need a win to get into the playoffs positioning. Kaney versus Howland. This is going to be an interesting one. We just saw Howland lose to Mooney and give Mooney their first win of the year. Kaney has been kind of up and down, obviously, trying to fit in a new quarterback because Hewlett got hurt in week 1. This is a game that Kaney needs. This is a game that Howland needs, both if they want to put themselves in playoff positioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look at Howland able to get that win against Niles in week 1 before 3 consecutive losses to Ravenna, Poland, and Boardman, 3 quality opponents before beating Waite 42-6, and then following with a very close loss to a very good quality West Branch team.
That makes the win for Mooney so, like, people are looking at Howland's record and be like, oh, Mooney just, who cares if they won against Howland? Howland was competitive against Boardman. They were pushed West Branch as far as they've been pushed all season. This is a good Howland team, so I think that win for Mooney is really impressive.
A close loss against a quality Ravenna team and a close within 2 possessions of Poland as well. So Howland has been in every single game they've played, and then you flip it to Chaney too. And by the way, this is both 2 Division 3 teams. It's number 19 Howland at number 20 Chaney. So both these teams right on the outside. But looking at what Chaney's done, obviously those injuries and everything to Fitch, it was that loss week 1. Very close loss though to Boardman, 16-12. Boardman ended up winning before they ended up. Chaney 2 consecutive wins over both Cardinal Mooney and St. Charles. That loss to Canfield, which was a very, very good Canfield team, and we've already been proven how good Canfield's been with big wins over multiple teams. And then a very close loss to Harvey, which was another one of those 14-16 loss, 16-14 Harvey wins it. And you look at how close those 2 losses are to both Boardman and Harvey, and you see how close Chaney has been in these games. And yeah, like you see, trying to figure things out. But I mean, defensively, Canfield's been the team that scored the most points on them at 35. No other team besides that has scored above 35 on them. And that in of itself is impressive that they've held every other opponent under 30 with the exception of the Canfield Cardinals. I think Chaney's been very, very impressive too, especially in Division 3 with the strength of schedule that they face and the quality of opponents. I think both of these teams have pretty much done the same thing, played very good quality opponents, just barely came out on the losing end of some very close ones. And now they're in a position where They have to face each other, and a win for either of them, number 19 Howland, number 20 Caney, is going to put them in a great position where their destiny can pretty much be painted for them the next 2 weeks of what they need to do to get into the playoffs.
Well, let's look into their position and their chances to make the playoffs. I mean, what does Caney have upcoming compared to Howland, and what's kind of the gap between 16 and 19 and 16 and 20 there in Division 3?
So looking at who's number 16 is, it is Alliance at 4.62. And
We are rooting against this week because they're playing a YSN team. Sorry, Alliance, but if you sign on, we won't root against you. But as of now, you are on the outside looking in for the YSN schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's looking at where they're at 4.62, and then we go down to where Howland's at 3.85, Caney at 3.54, and of course we already talked about Niles at 17, 4.37. So all of these teams within roughly, what is that, a 4.62 average for Alliance, Caney at 3.54. So just outside of a point, which can be made up with the wins that if Caney and Howland can both get in the following weeks. But we look at where Caney's schedule is the next few weeks, and you got Warren Harding and you got Youngstown East after this one. And you're talking about a Caney team. You win this week, and then if you can pull off a win next week, I give Caney a little bit of an edge too in that Youngstown East matchup. But we'll see in that coming up too, because Youngstown East has surprised me time and time again. That would also be a tough matchup between West Side versus East Side, and that's always fun.
You know, we talked about this with the Struthers Niles game. If Caney loses this game, that Warren Harding game becomes a must win.
Yeah.
Just like I don't think Niles wants Hubbard to be a must win. I don't think Caney would like Warren Harding to be a must win game for them.
No, and you know what? Warren Harding's, like we said all year, their record 3-4, very similar to what Ursuline, very similar to what Fitch is doing. They schedule up and they play tough opponents.
And yet they're number 8 in their division. So they're 3-4 and number 8. So that tells you how good their schedule is. They have 3 wins, and they've been good enough to get them at number 8.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to imagine, too, a win for Caney here, and then the possibility of then just needing to win one of the next 2. Does a 4-6 team in Division 3 make it? I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. Some things might need to happen for Caney, and same thing for Howland. Looking at their next 3 games, it's Caney. Then you got to go to Canfield. And then it's at Canton South. So Canfield comes to you, excuse me. So Canfield's a home matchup week 9. And then at Canton South, another quality opponent. And it's the same case here, Anthony, where you lose to Caney, Canfield becomes must win. And I don't know if I want the Canfield Cardinals in a must win scenario.
No, I wouldn't want them at all as in a must win scenario. So this is a really important game now that we talk about it.
Yeah. And this is going to be, you don't want to say make or break, but it almost is with both.
I think it is. I mean, like
a loss pretty much is going to put you out of it, I think, for either of these teams. So a win, you're fighting for your playoff life right now. So we're going to see what these 2 teams are made of, and who's going to bring the fight, who's going to bring that playoff fight, that playoff hunger, because who wants it more is basically what it's going to come down to.
I mean, that's such a cliche in sports. Who wants it more? Oh, yeah, because I didn't want it. Right.
Yeah.
But it's going to come down to, I think, the effort plays that happen in football. And we've seen, how fast you can get off a block, how long you can keep your coverage in the secondary, how many tackles you can break, how you can break through contact. Who's going to have the stronger will? And I think that's a bigger statement in football than who wants it more. Who has more will? Because football is all about breaking the other team's will, getting them to a point when they don't want to line up and go up against you anymore. So who has more physical will to win this football game? Because it's going to be very physical. Both defenses very good. Both lines very good, by the way, both up front. It's going to be a very physical game. And whose will is stronger is really going to come out to who's going to win this game, and both teams have been close, but unable to make those winning plays late in some games. They're going to have to. They're going to have the willpower to make plays late in the game when they're hurting and they're tired and they've been beat up on the line. They're going to have to make those willing effort plays if they want to win this one.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to discipline too, and penalties are going to come down to it as well. Both these teams, especially at the line, false start penalties as well as offside penalties have been an issue, holding as well. So it's going to come down to you got to have to limit those penalties. And I think whatever team we see that's more disciplined is going to be the team I think that's going to be ready for the playoffs more. And which team is going to come in more prepared, ready for playoff atmosphere type football, because that's exactly what you're kind of playing for. It's not win or go home scenario, but it's definitely a lose and you're out scenario.
Player to watch for Howland, Matt Woomer, running back. A lot of the show on offense for Howland goes through him. Kaney's going to have to key on him and make sure that he doesn't wreck the game. He's a game wrecker, as some coaches would call, every player, every team. Most teams have at least one player that can just go and wreck a game, and Matt Woomer is that player for Howland.
Yeah, and I mean, you got guys on Chaney's side. J.R. Tellington is a phenomenal athlete as well. So, I mean, you're going to have to look for those type of plays. Big thing is Chaney's got the home field advantage too. So it's going to be the Youngstown faithful behind the Cowboys tonight. And we know Coach Emil has a lot of the Youngstown faithful behind this team again. And he's done a fantastic job with the Cowboys program, bringing that love and that fight and that passion back for Cowboy football. And this is going to be one of the bigger games for Chaney in recent years, I think.
I love when we had him on back in, I believe it was week 1, before the week 1 opponent. He ended the interview by saying, the city needs this win. The city needs this win. And he identifies so much with the city of Youngstown, the grit of the city that he plays in. It's big that this game is in Kaney, because not only does Kaney need this win, but he would probably come on. If he had an interview this week, he would come on. He'd probably end it with the same phrase: the city needs this win.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely going to be another one of those matchups where both of these teams do a lot of similar things. They've won against similar opponents, lost against similar opponents, had very good schedules, both of them. But it's going to come down to it, very similar to Niles and Struthers, but this one stakes are raised a little bit because a loss almost definitely is putting you out of the playoff picture now. So you got to imagine, if you're Howland or Chaney, you got to win this one, because if you win, you stay afloat and stay alive in the playoff hunt.
You say the stakes are being raised? Get your forks up, forks high, raise the stakes, baby. Because this one, the stakes don't get any higher and any more quality steak. Oh, now I'm hungry. Let's move on to our next matchup. Two teams that are, you could say, on a roll a little bit. Reserve going up against Springfield. Springfield has looked like they just been mowing down MVAC opponents like they have for the last 3 years. And now Western Reserve comes in on a big winning streak. They were very competitive against Lowville. It was a last drive win for Western Reserve. Now they go up against a team that is the real deal. They're going to have to have everything going right for them if they're going to beat Springfield.
Yeah, and this is a case too where Springfield, I know what they've done in the MVAC, but this almost reminds me of kind of Brookfield week 2, and you might see a slug them, tough them, rough them out game like that, because we know what Reserve is going to bring to the table, and we know Reserve plays different. They play a different style of football, and it's an intimidation factor with Reserve, and they don't fear you is the biggest thing. And that's the one thing I will always credit Western Reserve on. They don't fear any of their opponents. And even the big name of the Springfield Tigers, I don't think the Blue Devils are too worried about it. They're going to come in and play their style of game. And with that being said, Springfield hasn't looked better since that week 1 loss. I mean, they turned it up. We said close one to Brookfield, and like I said, that big win against Geneva, I think, turned a lot of people. And then you're talking about after that, haven't allowed more than 7 points the last 4 weeks of the season. 6 to Lowville, 7 to Mineral Ridge, 7 to McDonald, and a shutout against Waterloo, outscoring their opponents over 200 to 20. I believe. Let me do the quick math on this real quick. That's 109. There's 110, 160, 199 to 20 in the last few weeks is what Springfield is outscoring their opponents by.
Let's also be real. A lot of those points that they gave up were at the end of the game when Springfield has their reserves in and they've kind of let their foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah,
they have been just putting teams away before halftime.
Yeah, the only one I think I can remember offhand, McDonald did go down and
McDonald, yes, you're right. And it was the christening of their stadium. They brought momentum into the game, and they went down. They scored first, and then unfortunately for them, the next 49 points of the game were all courtesy of the Springfield Tigers.
And you know what? You look at what Western Reserve has done now, though, and what their losses came against in the season. They've played the quality opponents, and I think this is a Western Reserve team that is going to be prepared to play a quality opponent in Springfield, because we look at their first 3 losses of the season before Western Reserve turned the table. Lost to Liberty, a very good team in Division 5 that's in the playoff picture now. Number 16, I believe, Liberty. They lost to Warren JFK, and then they lost to Brookfield. And both those teams, we know JFK, what they're doing in D7 and what Brookfield's doing in Division 6, before rattling off 4 straight victories to Jackson Mountain, Waterloo, Mineral Ridge, and Lowville. And if you heard those ones before, it's because you heard them in the Springfield. They've also beaten Lowville, Mineral Ridge, Waterloo as well this year in the last few weeks. So very similar opponents, very similar outcomes, but there's no doubt now Western Reserve has definitely turned the corner and turned the tables around on their whole season, and their defense hasn't looked better too. And that's what we've seen, very similar outcomes to these opponents when we look at what Western Reserve has done to both Jackson Milton and Mineral Ridge. Shout outs to both of them, allowing just 8 points to Waterloo. So you're looking at that 3-game stretch where they only allowed 8 as well. So this is a game where, like I said, I feel like you might see another one of those Springfield-Brookfield matchups where it's going to be a lot lower scoring than what we might think.
Look, Springfield is going to be the undoubted favorite in this game, and a lot of people are going to pick Springfield. In fact, I would be shocked if anyone didn't go with the Tigers as their pick. But at the same token, all I have to do to know that this game could be close or could be competitive is go watch last year's game. And I don't know if you remember last year's game at all. The first half, Western Reserve held the ball for almost the entire half. I mean, Springfield was only up 14-0 at halftime, if I remember correctly. The problem with that was Western Reserve could not finish drives. They moved the ball. They got into the red zone. They couldn't finish. So that tells me they can move the ball. They can run against Springfield. And this is a Springfield defense last year that was just as good as it was this year. So it's not like all of a sudden their defense is so dramatically improved from last year. This is a solid defense last year that got them all the way to 1 play away from winning the state championship. Western Reserve ran the ball well, controlled the ball, and just couldn't finish drives. So if they finish drives this year, then this could be a close game.
I think it can as well. And the biggest thing for Western Reserve's defense, can they limit the big chunk plays? Yes. Springfield and Western Reserve, I'll give them credit. They've done a great job these last few weeks of almost eliminating those chunk plays entirely and holding opponents to modest gains. And if you could hold Springfield to modest gains, I don't think there's any doubt that Springfield's going to score on you. But if you can make them work for their drives, and then you in turn hold the ball for a long time, and you're just playing time of possession, you can definitely keep this one close. And I think that's what Western Reserve's style of play needs to be to keep this one close and pull off the upset against Springfield.
Now you gotta play devil's advocate, no pun intended, a little bit, but we know David Altier is amazing. He's putting on an amazing season, and he's on Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nominee, by the way, Western Reserve fans, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But he is like 95% of their offense. Like last week, he had like 260 of 280, something like that.
Yeah.
You got to wonder if that's going to be too one-dimensional to beat a team like Springfield.
We'll have to see, too. And you know what? The only other counter argument you can really, I guess, use against it is you look at Hubbard being a very similar, very run-dominant style team, and they've beaten the best of the best this year. I have to say, too, with big wins against teams such as Poland this year, such as Jefferson, such as Cardinal Mooney, such as East Cleveland Shaw and Norway. And so, I mean, yeah, they haven't played South Range yet. So that's another one of those big questions I guess we have for Hubbard. But hey, if you can execute, that's the biggest thing. And if you can execute and be consistent, I think Western Reserve can do it. They have the size to do it. It's about, can they get those steps? And if Springfield is getting that penetration, though, on Reserve's line, it's going to be very, very tough for Altier to get any sort of running room.
It's going to be interesting to see, because I think everyone in the stadium will know that Altier is getting the ball. Can he execute against a good defense when everyone knows he's the show? So that'll be what that game comes down to. Obviously, Western Reserve wants to hold on to the ball and use him to do it. But we're going to take a quick break. And on the other end, we will bounce back to volleyball. We will talk to the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner this week, Julia Rapp from Columbiana. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, joined by Ty Bartell. And on the show, we are going to be joined by this week's Barrett Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winner on the volleyball side of things, Julia Rapp from Columbiana. Julia, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we love having you on. Before we get into your season and the career and all the things you've put together, talk about what it meant to you to see the community of Columbiana step up for you, get all the votes, and get you this Big Dogs of the Valley win.
It means a lot to get as many votes as I did, especially from coming from a small town and everything. It just means a lot.
Looking a little bit about what you've been able to accomplish in your volleyball career, shout out some of the people that kind of helped you along the way, both coaches and maybe non-coaching people, but maybe some people that just really helped influence you and motivate you and encourage you to keep going along the way.
Definitely my parents and my coaches, and I played JO last year, so those coaches really helped me get where I am. And just playing since 7th grade, like all of my coaches and teammates that I've played with for that long really helped.
You come into this season, and I know there were a lot of new faces, and how has it been like this year, kind of meshing the leadership that you guys have with some of the new faces on the team?
Hold on, it's like glitching out. I couldn't hear what you said, that last sentence.
All right, so this season, there's a lot of new faces on Columbiana's volleyball team, of course, with a lot of new players coming into the fold. What has it been like to kind of mesh them with the returning varsity players?
So like the freshmen that came up this year?
Yeah.
Honestly, like they have a lot of talent and it really helps us. Like we have like Cameron Perkins and Ellie Jackson, and they're both really good setters. And we lost Grace Whitmer last year, and she was a really good setter. So having those two coming up really helped.
Looking into this season and going into the season, what was the biggest thing you wanted to improve upon your game going into your senior year?
Being a better leader and just communicating more on the court, because I feel like I definitely stepped up as a leader more than I did last year.
How would you kind of define your leadership attributes? What kind of leader would you call yourself?
I mean, I'd say I'm a pretty good leader. I have a lot of other seniors on the court with me, so I just feel more comfortable like being a leader because like they're all on the court with me and everything.
Looking at it being your senior year and reflecting on everything you've done prior to in your whole volleyball career, what's something that some coaches told you maybe back when you were younger that you're incorporating into your game now, and you kind of wish maybe you were listening to them a little bit earlier on?
I couldn't hear the last sentence you said. It's like, I don't know if it's me or you.
That's no problem. It was just basically saying something that maybe coaches were telling you earlier on in your volleyball career that you didn't start incorporating until later on, and you kind of wish you were you did earlier on in your career.
Definitely talking more on the court, because they've always said that I was more like quiet and everything, and I definitely like stepped up with that this year, and I wish I would have done it the years before.
Talk about this coaching staff and what it's like being under them and what they've done to help you kind of grow into the volleyball player you are now.
My head coach, Martin, she actually got me into a JO team, and playing JO helped me a lot with my swing and just like knowing more about the game. So I thank her for that. And then my JV coach, Coach Malsh, she just had a baby, but she helped me a lot with like my swing and everything like that too.
Reflect for me a little bit on it being your senior year now, and reflect on your high school experience and your whole experience with the Columbiana community. How has it been? And just kind of take the time now to, I don't know, either thank or just reflect a little bit on your whole Columbiana high school experience.
I couldn't hear part of it. I don't know what's going on.
It's no problem. The question was just to reflect on your Columbiana high school experience, both within the high school and the community.
Like my whole high school experience, that's all I got.
Yeah. Just reflect on your whole high school experience.
Okay. My whole high school experience, I started my freshman year on JV, and then my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I played middle, and I completely changed positions my sophomore year. I at first hit left side, and now I'm a middle hitter. But I'm just like glad that I did switch positions because I like middle a lot better.
We have a lot of Columbiana pictures on Smugbug and from Mahoning Valley Sports and our great photographers, but it seems like every time you pop up in a picture, Tori Long is right next to you. Talk about the dynamic between you and Tori and what it's like to have her as a teammate.
I couldn't hear that at all.
Okay, we'll do this again. Every time we see a picture of Columbiana volleyball, it seems like you and Tori Long are right next to each other at the net or blocking or whatever it may be. What's the dynamic between you two, and what's it like having her as a teammate?
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, it's just
Okay,
paused.
Okay. Tori Long, great teammate that you guys have and a great chemistry you have. Talk about that. Talk about her and
I
the dynamic.
can't hear it, so.
Okay. Ty, you want to take a question? See if she can hear you.
Let's see too. We have these technical issues sometimes. Are you hearing me right now, Julia? Yeah, we might be technical issues right now.
Julia, why
I'm
don't you
sorry,
try?
I can't hear anything.
Why don't you try getting out and then coming back in and seeing if that does anything?
Okay.
So we'll try to fix those issues with Julia Rapp, and try to see if we can get her back on.
Yeah,
the gremlins. The gremlins are real.
Yeah, glitch gremlins like to mess up too, especially down towards the Columbiana area too. It likes to be spotty sometimes, especially with data.
All right, so I'm gonna pop her back on and see.
Okay.
Okay, let's try this again.
All
every
right.
time, can you hear us?
It's still doing it. I don't know why. Maybe I might have to move rooms.
Yeah, it might just be the Wi-Fi connection wherever you're at.
Okay. Do you want me to just join when I get somewhere else?
Yeah, let's just try that, and then if that doesn't work, we'll just we'll call it a day.
Yeah, because I still can't hear anything.
Right. All right, so Julia will try to get to another room, maybe get a better connection at somewhere else in the school, and we'll continue to try to get her on as we deal with the glitch gremlins. We got a little bit of an interview in before the gremlins started to really attack us. Someone fed it after midnight. We're gonna have a talk with someone. There are rules with gremlins, very specific rules. Just 3 of them. Just 3 of them. Don't put it in water. Don't give it sunlight, and don't feed it after midnight.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're striking again. Hopefully, we can figure something out. But yeah, we were able to get something in too, and at least talk to her a little bit about her experience with the Columbiana Clips.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that we got out of her is just the how important Columbiana's community is to that team. And we'll try this again. Let's see. It looks like she's in a different location. Hello, are we better now? Your video.
Yeah, it sounds better.
All right. So before we had the glitches, I was going to ask about you and Tori Long. And every time we see a picture of you two, you guys are always next to each other on the court. What's that dynamic like between you two, and what's it like having her as a teammate?
It glitched out again.
All right, wait. We'll try this one more time because I think we have this. All right, you and Tori Long, great teammates. Talk about the dynamic between you two.
Me and Tori have been through like everything together, and we played softball together. We've just always been really good friends, and having her on the court with me one last year is an amazing feeling.
Looking towards the future, I know you're probably going to do some great things, but reflecting on this experience again, just talk to me about what has been your favorite thing about playing for Columbiana.
Definitely with my teammates, because we've played together since 7th grade, and having them on the court with me one last year means a lot.
Tournament time is very close to us. What are some things that you guys want to do as a team before tournament time approaches?
Work better on the court. The last 2 games, we weren't really working together as well as we normally do. And I feel like we need to work on our communication skills more and just be better teammates. And I feel like that will help us get us far in tournaments.
Looking from the beginning of the season to now, what has been the biggest improvements you've seen, not only with yourself, but with your teammates on the court this year?
The senior leadership, I feel like it was all hard for us at first to like be loud on the court and have leadership skills because we lost our 4 seniors last year. And so we had to step up, and I feel like it took a lot of time, especially with like all the freshmen we have.
Julia, I want to give you the chance to thank your support system, the people that have been there for you through the years, and what they mean to you in your career.
I want to thank all my coaches and my community and all of my friends, especially my senior group of friends, because they've been there through it all and they've helped me get where I am today.
As we look forward to the tournament, I want you to take this time now to call out the Columbiana community and let them know how much they need, or you guys need their support for your tournament push and going forward with volleyball.
Yeah, we need a lot of support. I feel like when we have those big games with like a lot of fans and stuff, we always play better. And just having our community behind us is going to help us get far.
All right, before we let you go, I want to know what the future holds for Julia Rapp. What are some of your future plans after high school?
I plan on running track. I'm not sure where yet. I've been visiting a lot of places, but I definitely plan on running track. And I'm not sure what my major is, but we're figuring it out.
Hey, a lot of people are figuring that out right now. So you haven't landed on a destination, but are you someone that wants to travel, or are you someone that wants to kind of stay closer to home?
More close to home, I'm hoping for.
All right, Julia, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry about the glitch gremlins that tried to attack us, but we got through it. We got through it. And we are glad to have you on, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Julia Rapp, we got through it. Take that, Gremlins.
Labored through it, but we got through it. As we were able to finish the conversation with her, as no doubt one of the great supporters too is Columbiana with their programs, and I had no doubt that they were going to show up big for the Clippers volleyball season too, especially postseason wise. But I just wanted to give Julia a little bit of a chance to call out a little bit of extra fan support. So maybe if you're on the teetering, thinking about going and showing up, make sure you get out there and support them.
You know, one of the things that you know about Columbiana is they love their volleyball, and they travel so well, and their home games are ridiculously packed. So I'm sure we're going to hear some Clipper claps during tournaments. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun time following that team as they get ready for tournament play. We have another game to get to before we talk to Joe Simon of Liberty Football. I want to talk a little bit about McDonald versus Lowville, and two teams that, like kind of Struthers and Niles, in a curious situation in like the middle to second tier of that MVAC that they find themselves in.
Yeah, and I mean, both of these teams falling in Division 7, so we venture there, and it's number 16 McDonald at number 8 Lowville in Division 7 right now. So Lowville right now teetering, like we said, but they are number 8, meaning they would have a home field advantage in game number 1 of the tournament. So this is a game where Lowville they can't really afford to lose too, and that the loss against Western Reserve, I believe, dropped them from, I think it was 4-8. So you saw a significant drop from last week to this week. And this is one, too, where a loss to McDonald would probably take them out of that 16 seed in Division 7. So this is a case where Lowville loses. They probably lose home field advantage for the time being. McDonald loses, and they lose a spot in the playoffs for the time being. And it's both the cases, too, where we look at McDonald. You got to remember, this is a team started off 0-3.
Yeah, they're still trying to dig themselves out of that hole a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, 0-3, the start, that's why they find themselves number 16. They are better than a 16 seed. I'll tell you that on the field. They're just trying to dig themselves out of a hole that they kind of got themselves in the first 3 weeks.
When they were 0-3 and everyone was acting like the house was on fire, and McDonald wasn't the same thing. And then right when you thought they were out of it, they dragged themselves back in 2 consecutive grueling victories over both Mineral Ridge and Sebring, as well as going up. And you know what? They had some competitiveness in that first quarter against Springfield, and I'll give them that. And unfortunately, we had this game against Western Reserve canceled, because that one would have been a great test to see again where McDonald was. But hey, there's your test right now.
Might see it in week 10. I mean, because Lowville and Western Reserve moved from week 10 to then, so we might see that game in week 10.
And that'd be really nice to see to close out the rest of the season. But looking at what Lowville is doing and what they've done, they rattled off 3 consecutive victories: Columbiana, Campbell, and Wellsville. Lost to Springfield, similar fashion to what McDonald lost to, before wins against Jackson, Milton, and Waterloo. And, of course, a very, very close loss, though, to Western Reserve. And that was, oh, my God, what a game that was last Friday, too. Both those teams gave it their all. They really did.
It was. And Western Reserve, to your credit back when we were talking about that game, they limited the chunk plays that Lowville thrives on. They limited those big, huge 60-plus yard touchdowns that they seem to get. So I think that was the difference. I think Lowville didn't have the explosiveness, and they couldn't quite separate themselves from Western Reserve. And then the Blue Devils made plays down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a case, too, where we look at Division 7. Let's see where all these teams are. Lowville, of course, what we said was ranked number 8. And behind them, Malvern, number 9, 6.16 for Malvern, 6.18 for Lowville in the average point. And that's as slim gets for margins. As far as
you want a Slim Jim right there.
Yeah. And then number 10, Valley Christian, too. Their name has been popping up a lot, 5.78, too. So still within a half-point differential in the average department is Valley Christian, 10 from 8 on Lowville. And then we look at where Lowville is from number 7, and number 7 being Southern. The Southern at 7.18 and Louisville at 6.18. So a full point gap between 8 and 7. This is one where Louisville needs to win to try to get and stay in that upper echelon. But you could see how thin the margins are. A loss can put them out of that home field advantage. And then looking down a little bit at number 16, McDonald, 2.60 is their average total, rounded up. Number 17, Toronto, 2.25. And then number 18, Steubenville Central Catholic, 2.03. So both of those teams very close within margins. Wellsville, number 15, at 3.24. So McDonald still within a point of Wellsville of 15, but teams 17 and 18 within a point of McDonald too. So very close 4-team race for 2 final spots in the playoffs in D7.
And when you dive into this game, as far as the X's and O's, 2 very different styles of teams going up against each other. We've had a lot of these type of matchups. It's going to be about who controls the tempo. I hate to beat that drum again, but McDonald plays a different tempo of offense than Louisville does. It's going to be about who controls the tempo more.
And if I don't like comparing teams like this because every team's different and every team has different talent levels, but it almost reminds you of that LeBray versus Garfield matchup. Garfield had the size, LeBray had the skill positions. It feels like, again, Louisville's got the skill, McDonald's got the size, but we know who came out on top of that Garfield-LeBray game.
Well, 90% of the time in matchups between that kind of, the more physical team is going to win a football game because that's what football is all about. It's about being physical. So I think that's what happened to LeBray. Don't know if it'll happen to Louisville because they do have a pretty good defensive line that has really improved this year. They stopped the run pretty well, aside from a couple of games where they have been displaying pretty good run defense. Stopped it enough to win against Waterloo, and Waterloo runs the wing T. So they've won against teams that are predominantly run heavy. So I think they've been there, done that. I think they're so unique. They're always playing teams that want to control the ball. So I'm not really worried about Louisville's mentality or their ability to execute in this game. But it is a storyline to say that McDonald is a completely different style than Louisville.
And you know what? It is also a storyline to say that McDonald's loss of game against Western Reserve was Louisville's gain. Because even in a loss, I think the game and the rushing attack of David Altier is definitely going to prepare Louisville's team for what they're going to see a lot from McDonald too. Remember, Western Reserve plays a very similar style, not an exact same style as McDonald, but similar, very rush-heavy team, and getting that exposure to a very good running back and running team before facing McDonald, I think is going to pay off for Louisville in this matchup.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think another big key of this matchup for them is going to be the matchup between Louisville's offensive line and McDonald's pass rush, because when Vinny Balone has struggled, it has been because defensive lines are getting to him, and the last couple of opponents have been playing a little bit of a layered pass rush where they're not coming all at once. They'll have some linebackers spy for a minute and then go. Really confuses offensive lines, and as a unit, this offensive line for the Rockets is going to have to do a better job trying to keep Vinny Balone clean.
Yeah, and you might need to put some extra blockers, and maybe even you might see utilizing a fullback just to have someone back with Vinny Balone, just to keep that extra blocker back with him. I mean, you might have
Louisville sitting there in the shotgun like, what's a fullback?
Honestly.
Huh?
But I mean, there's a variety of things you can do to try to get it. I want to see if they want to bring that creativity, and it might be a feeling out process where McDonald might break through and get that success in the first half, and it might need to be an adjustment on Louisville's end where they need to add extra blockers or start getting creative, because we know, I mean, the book is out. We know what McDonald's going to do. We know what Louisville's going to do in this game. Both the defenses are game planning for respectively what they're expecting the other team to do predominantly the entire game. It's just who's going to come in more prepared, who's going to execute better now.
McDonald's defense and their secondary will be tested. Don't doubt that. So we're going to take one more break, and on the other end, we are going to talk to Joe Simon, the head coach of the Liberty football team. Don't miss that next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. when medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen. We are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
My guy keeps it 100% of the time. He wants all 100, won't settle for 99. And it's more than stats, because there's people in those numbers. And I was one of the lost sheep. I'm so glad he cares for all 100. I'm 100% safe, 100% free, 100% love. I can be 100% me. He gave all 100 when they put him up on that tree. That's 100% passion for 100% free. So if I play in front of 100, or if I play in front of 2, there's an audience of 1 getting 100% of what I can do.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience, WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit WRSwealth.com. Good luck, athletes.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Coca's Pizza, proud to announce our pizza buffet's back every Wednesday at our Boardman and Canfield locations. Adults only $7.99 and kids only $4.99, and $2 beer starting at 8 o'clock. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
Every customer has a story, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Welcome back to YSN's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We are joined by the head coach over at the Liberty Leopards football program, Joe Simon. Coach, want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course, when we talk about Liberty football, what a big win last week, a last-second drive, some heroics from your offense. Talk about what this win meant for you guys as a program, and from a coach's perspective, what it was like going through that night.
Man, everybody who was at the game, a lot of friends and family were telling me how fun of a game it was and how exciting, and I'm just like, I don't know how much fun it was for me. You guys might have had a good time, but I was, my blood pressure just came down, I think, today. It was wild, just back and forth. There were times where I felt like, oh, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to recover from that. There were a lot of really big plays by Champion. They got a great quarterback, and he made some huge plays. And it was really probably one of the more emotional games I've been involved in because of the highs and the lows that we went through. But it was fun, to get the win in the end, to be able to continuously come back from adversity. That was really big for us as a team. And, we needed that win. We've had some wins over some teams that I didn't have the best records, or we didn't necessarily know if they were kind of on our level as far as the division goes and that type of thing. But Champion is a Division 5 school, and while their record isn't great, they've played really well against some teams that I see as good. LeBray, they were right there with them, and they could have had the lead in the first quarter. A couple things didn't go their way, so it was a team that I felt like was to our level, and that was kind of. What's the right word? They can play with anybody. They remind me of us a little bit, and that they can play with anyone. And for us to come out on top was a big step in the right direction.
Coach, I mean, looking at that too, that win definitely puts you guys in the playoff picture and is keeping you guys in the playoff picture. You got another good matchup, your last away matchup now of the season against Newton Falls. Preview this matchup a little bit with the Tigers, what you're expecting from Newton Falls as you guys are trying to get another victory and try to maybe move your way up those standings a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I try not to talk too much about playoffs with our kids because I don't want them to look ahead. But there's no doubt about it. We needed that win for playoff ramifications, and it helped in that regard. And Newton Falls is, and they're a big team up front. They have some big boys up there, and they can push you around a little bit if you're not tough, if you're not fundamentally sound, and they can run the football. They're another team that's played well against some good teams, haven't been able to kind of hold on and take that next step to where they're beating some of those teams. But we played some teams earlier this year that I don't know how to put it exactly. We kind of like let them hang around. We got in the red zone a couple times and we didn't finish drives. And the longer you keep a team in the game, the more confidence they're going to get, the better chance they have of playing well consistently, because they'll get that confidence and they'll ride that and they'll keep going and they'll get more confidence and they'll start playing better and better. And by the fourth quarter, they're feeling good, and it's a battle. And we're a young team as far as understanding how to win and understanding how to win. Early. You put 14 points on the team in the first quarter and 28 by halftime, and that team's going to be tough for them to come back from that mentally, as well as physically. So, that's something that we need to learn. And I'm hoping that as the year goes on, we kind of understand different ways to win. We found ways to win, and that's great. I'm hoping that consistency is our next step, because if we play consistently, we're going to be a tough out.
Coach, we got to talk about DC Farrell, because he's come on the scene and he has played so well for you guys. He's one of the big reasons why you guys were able to win last week, and he is up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley this week as well. Talk about some of the things that you've seen from him and what's made him so impressive this year, and then some of the reasons why Liberty faithful should go out and vote for DC until Saturday at midnight.
The main reason, not just to vote for him, but of why he's had so much success is just the kind of kid he is and the work ethic that he brings. And he's part of a really talented freshman class, and they all have had a really good work ethic, and they challenge each other every day. If we're doing conditioning and we're sprints, him and a couple other kids, Marquez Patterson, they're constantly pushing each other, trying to beat the other guy, and they're neck and neck. And that's going to make you better, and that has made him better. And being a freshman and having the ability to play under the lights on Friday night against some of the best teams around, that's not easy to do. And the fact that he hasn't been afraid of the moment, and that he kind of stepped up in big situations. We played Lakeview in week 2, and it was a big game. We were going into overtime. I'm sorry, it was week 3. We were going in overtime, and he's the reason we were going into overtime. He made some huge throws down the stretch, and that's only the 3rd game of his high school career, and it told me a lot about him, that he's able to come back from adversity, and he's not going to get down on himself too much, and he'll have a short memory. He throws picks from time to time. That happens to all quarterbacks, and he doesn't go in the tank. He's able to move on to the next play, and that's just incredible for a freshman to be able to do that. Obviously his athletic ability is as good as it gets, especially for a freshman. His speed is outstanding. His quickness is not. Speed is and quickness are different to me. Quickness is how quickly you can get in and out of cuts, and that kind of thing. And speed is more like high end. When you're fastest, how fast are you going? And he has a little bit of both. he has that next gear, but he also has the quickness to make people miss and get out of the pocket. And he has a strong arm. He's only about 5'7", 150 pounds. So he doesn't look like much, but he could throw the ball. And he's a tough kid. He's becoming a leader. He's one of our captains. I don't know if I've ever heard of a freshman captain in my years of coaching, but he earned it. And that's the type of kid he is.
Just a follow up real quick about him. As a freshman coming into the summer, I'm sure he had to kind of earn that quarterback role. What kind of things did you see in the summer from him and the work ethic that made you so comfortable with putting him in that role as a quarterback and as a captain?
Well, one of the things is one of our junior high coaches last year, his name's Don McKinney, is one of our varsity coaches this year. And he told me a lot about him and, kind of just let me know, like, hey, this kid has the ability to play right away. And, that's one thing for a coach to say it, but it's another thing to put a kid out there against guys who are, 6'4", 260 and can run and are trying to tackle him. When that happens, he's still going to be able to perform, or where this isn't junior high anymore. You don't have, little kids running after you. You have grown men coming after you. And, we did some passing scrimmages and he did well in those. Physically he was able to make the throws that we needed. So that was a good sign. And, the stuff I was talking about earlier, as far as him competing with everyone, he was winning a lot of the sprints that we did in, when we had seniors going up against him. And, he wasn't going to back down from those type of competitions. And, that told me a lot about him. And once we put the pads on, it took him a game or two to kind of get comfortable. But we felt like, his just overall athleticism gave us the best chance to win. So after 2 games, we named him the starter. Him and Derek DiMatteo were battling, and Derek is a phenomenal kid who didn't take things the wrong way. He continued to work hard after DC was named the starter, and now he's a starter at tight end. That's just the kind of kid he is. He just wants to be on the field. So those two working together played a big role. Derek's willing to help him out. DC's willing to help him out. It was a competition, and and it was a friendly competition because they want the team to do well. And that's gone a long way in both of their developments.
A lot of things to be excited for Liberty football. I think that's no question. And in a season of ups and downs with a very young team of interchanging parts and everything, what is the biggest thing you think this team has learned about itself this season to this point, week 1 to now?
Good question. Because there's a lot of growth that's happened. I think probably just that we're able to win after adversity hits, because that's not easy to do, to be able to kind of keep your head and stay calm and collected. And sometimes we aren't calm and collected. There's no doubt about it. And any coach will tell you that about his kids. Like, they're going to get upset. They're going to have little tirades on the sideline here and there, but can you come back from that? Or is it going to seep into the rest of the team? And is everybody going to get down? And, you have to have an even keel. I think we've kind of done a better job of kind of finding that on our squad. It's not just kind of just saying the heck with it. They scored a touchdown. We're down 14 points or something like that. First game of the year, we were down 12-0 to Western Reserve, scored 30 unanswered. And I just think that was a really big step for us as a team to kind of understand that, we can hang with teams. We can come back and win against good teams. And, we've been able to do that on a couple occasions. And I wish we weren't down to have to come back, because we started slow in a lot of games where if we didn't, I think we probably could have pulled them out. But that's part of the process. It really is. And it's tough to accept sometimes as a coach, because you just want everything to fall into place right away. But it doesn't always work that way. So, as the year's gone on, we're starting to figure things out a little bit more and more. We're getting in better shape. I think that was another thing that we needed to do, coming into the year, and has gotten better and better. But definitely, I think the biggest thing is just mentally being able to stay focused and kind of stay locked in. The game has been the biggest step for us.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us today. I'm sure as every week you're probably very busy on game week, especially the day before game day. So we appreciate the time. We look forward to talking to you again real soon, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks a lot, guys. Again, I really appreciate you having me on.
Of course. That is Joe Simon, the head coach of Liberty football, joining us. What a way to close out the show, right? I mean, Joe Simon and the Leopards look extremely good this year, and they've grown a lot, like he said, and they have a chance to get another win on their under their belt this week.
Yeah, and it's going to be another one of those matchups that we're excited to call on YSN. As you know, this is going to be another great week, I think, for football, as we're so excited for it, and there's going to be a lot of good matchups, and definitely Liberty Newton Falls is one we'll be keeping our eyes on.
So before we get out of here, let's just go over what's going to be on the network tonight as far as broadcasts. You're going to be in Austintown, Fitch. It is senior night for the Falcons as they host Boardman. Don't let records speak to that game. Boardman's very feisty. They're very competitive, and that should be a fun one. I'm going to be in Hubbard as the Eagles are hosting Lakeview. First time I've seen Lakeview since back when they lost to Girard way back in towards the beginning of the season. So excited to see the growth out of the Bulldogs and how much they can go on the road, try to finish their NE8 season against Hubbard. Some other games going on in the area. Waterloo will be at Western Reserve. Once again, Lakeview will be at Hubbard. Champion will be at Liberty. Columbiana at Valley Christian. East Palestine at Southern. Garrettsville, Garfield going to Brookfield. Some soccer games going on tonight. It is all boys soccer. Waterloo at Jackson Milton. Boardman at Austintown Fitch. Ursuline at Hubbard. And Warren Harding at Champion. So that's what's going on tonight. Once again, great weather. So if you're a soccer fan, Storm Tracker 21 has, well, you know what, a chance of rain. So the temperatures are nice, but might be some rain to be dodged if you're going out to a soccer game. Storm Tracker 21 has a 70% chance of showers at 7 o'clock, which is kickoff time for soccer. So bring your umbrellas and your raincoats, but still get out there and support the soccer teams. I want to take the time to thank Joe Simon, the head coach of Liberty Football, and thank Julia Rapp for joining us live on the show. Also want to thank Phil Simone for taking the time out of his day last night to do an interview with us that we were able to debut on today's show. Tomorrow we have Coach Lude from Western Reserve joining us on the show, and we'll also have our Friday pick'em like we do every week. It'll be a fun show. Don't miss it tomorrow from 12 to 2. Coming up next on YSN, the Casual Sports Podcast. We'll have you from 2 to 3. Power Hour live from LeBray as the boys get ready for the primetime matchup this week between the LeBray Vikings and Brookfield Warriors. And then from 5 to 6, YSN Primetime also live from LeBray. Should be a fun night. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're taking a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 2.